But let's go to Rachel, because this is an issue that we need. This is surprising. This is very surprising. I had no idea. I'm not an Amtrak person. I don't ride it that often. Good morning, Rachel. How are you?
Hey there. How are you?
How's the weather in Washington today?
It's a beautiful day. Nice, beautiful fall day.
Beautiful?
Busy, though.
No, but busy. Yeah, I'll bet it is busy. All right. Now, like I said, I'm not an Amtrak guy. I guess I just haven't had the opportunity. I know back on the East Coast, Amtrak is much more used possibly than it is on the West Coast, certainly in Texas when we're there. But I had no idea that you couldn't take a sidearm, even if I'm licensed. Is that correct? I cannot
That's
take...
right. And even this bill doesn't address concealed carry, but when you're flying on airplanes, you can check firearms in your luggage. Obviously, it's checked luggage, so you can't carry a firearm on an airplane. And the way this would work with Amtrak would be the same way. You would be able to keep a firearm in your luggage, be transported on an Amtrak train. Now, this bill passed the Senate in an appropriations bill, and it was passed by a vote of 68 to 30. Overwhelming majority of the Senate voted to pass this new provision that would allow law-abiding passengers to securely transport their firearms in their checked baggage while traveling on Amtrak.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was not aware, and I'll bet many of us were not, that you couldn't. I'm certainly, as you mentioned, when we fly and we fly to hunting destinations, we go through a little bit of a hill climb in order to do it, but at least we can get our gun on board. And I thought you could do the same thing with Amtrak. Until you and I spoke, I did not know that. Is there anything?
Yeah, that's right. Currently, gun owners have to leave the guns at home. They are not able to even transport their firearms on Amtrak trains in checked baggage.
So, unfortunately, I don't know how that works in favor of Amtrak. I mean, quite frankly, if I were going to a hunting destination and I wanted to make a party out of it, then I would just assume that I could take that. I mean, how do you feel about the bill itself?
You know, the bill itself is great. We want law-abiding folks to be able to transport their firearms just as they would if they were in their own vehicles, as they would if they were flying in an airplane. I mean, if we can manage to safely transport firearms on an airplane, then we certainly can do it on Amtrak trains as well.
Yeah, that's certainly the way I feel. Which kind of leads me to think that if that's true in that industry with Amtrak, is that also true in similar industries such as a cruise ship? Do you have any information on that?
Those the bills have not been introduced that address those types of other forms of transportation. So those are, as far as I know, it is not legal to carry firearms on other forms of transportation such as cruise ships. And legislation has not been introduced to address those other types in forms of transportation. This bill was exclusive to Amtrak trains.
Okay, and where do we feel like this bill is right now? Tell me again.
Sure. Right now it has passed out of the Senate, and it will go, a version of it will go to the House for their comments. And if it passes the vote in the House, then it'll move on. And again, it's a part of an appropriations bill, so it will move on after that once the House has a chance to look at it.
Okay, so this specifically talks about Amtrak only, right?
Yes.
Okay, now I have to ask you this question, and only because I'm getting a question over here that says to me, was Bloomberg involved? I have to ask you because they're asking me.
Well, you know, every time any kind of pro-gun piece of legislation or language is added to a bill, of course Mike Bloomberg is coming out and saying something about it. And he has been rather vocal today even. Maybe not on this bill, but in general, he's been very vocal today. But he did come out against this, and he, of course, in his fashion of political and media grandstanding, he held a press conference, and which is pretty much his suit. He likes to hold lots of press conferences and parade around in front of the media, which he did. And obviously, he is against this bill, and he's against any kind of measure that would allow law-abiding people to practice Second Amendment freedoms.
Okay. Any update on the mayors against illegal guns?
Well, they're constantly out there, and Mayor Mike Bloomberg just had a press conference at 2 o'clock today. So he had another sting operation in for gun shows, going after gun shows again. And this is something that is breaking news. We just found out about it, so I'm not completely well versed on it. But just something to keep in mind when we think about what the kind of tactics that Mayor Mike Bloomberg is taking. He is hiring his own folks to go out and do sting operations. He's not coordinating with law enforcement, and then he's holding press conferences and having grandstandings to the media instead of putting his money where his mouth is and asking his prosecutors to go after the criminals. So I can talk more about it next week once I'm a little bit more well-versed. But what has happened today is that Mayor Mike Bloomberg had a press conference saying that his mayor's office did a sting operation in Tennessee, Ohio, and Nevada at gun shows, suggesting that there is illegal activity going on at these family-friendly civic events.
Okay, well that's very big news, because I know that we have a lot of viewers out here who are gun dealers. Now you need to be right strict with what you're doing, because Bloomberg is out there actually doing sting operations. So pay attention to who you're speaking to and make sure you're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. That's very good information, Rachel, and I'm glad we can at least get partial information out there to the gun dealers who are actually at these shows. And I hope that we can follow up on that again next week with some further.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to talk about it next week. What he was going after were private sellers.
Okay.
So this was something that as soon as you called me today, I was just finishing with the press conference. So it is a crazy time here at NRA, and this is something that we always have to watch out for. Mayor Mike Bloomberg is going to be an enemy of the Second Amendment at every opportunity that he can find.
Yeah, and I can hear your phone ringing off the hook back there, Rachel. I know they want you, but thank you very much for coming on this week, and I look forward to more from you again next week then.
Thank you so much.